Welcome back to Visited by Voices Live.
Were you about to keep the mute on?
I was playing with the mute button. I sure was. This is what we do. We coordinate what we're going to do in advance. Not at all.
Minutes in advance.
Mere microseconds. So yeah, thanks for coming back to Just Talking Genre, the show where we make no plans whatsoever and let you guys figure out what we're doing for us.
Yep. Hey, I got a question for you. It's not related to the genre though. It's a cat question.
Okay.
All right. Do any of your cats really like to get in the bathtub or the shower? Because
Yes.
mine are kind. Okay, good. So that's because it's cooler, I'm guessing, right?
No, Kazi, the European cat, will go in the shower with me every morning. She'll just hang out in the corner, watch the waterfall on me. It's very voyeuristic, makes you a little uncomfortable, makes you wonder if, it's a European thing. They're very comfortable with nudity, so.
It's like Kazi's like yearning for the fat for not having hair, just like trying to live vicariously through you.
Well, yeah, because the core of my being is simply not having hair.
I meant hairless, like hairless in general. Not it wasn't a bald joke, but you can make it one if you would like.
I think we're spending too much time talking about me in the shower. I think I can see the viewership dwindling as we speak.
I know we lost 2 people already. God damn it, guys.
Yeah, well, Lauren Neged, 2, -2, -7.
Oh, God, I just spit out some water. Oh. Anyway.
So who do we got out there? We have some Daniel Shine out there. We have some Jeff out there. We have some Cliff Booth out there. We have some Ben Grimm out there. Ben Grimm is a bot, right? It's not a real thing. It's AI, right?
I'm fairly sure he might be a real person.
I know he's a real person, but he's everywhere at all times.
Yeah, so is Dan, because again, like Dan's part shark.
Yeah, I have a theory about Dan though. So we have some Sean McManus. We got some people. I can't. This chat before we went on the air just keeps going.
I know everybody's really excited. So
we got some orc out there as well.
So did you hear that Scream 6 got leaked on Twitter today?
Scream 6 got leaked on Twitter?
Yeah, the whole movie got posted. They did that. That happened with Super Mario Brothers a couple weeks ago.
Damn, I guess I missed the chance not to watch it.
Yeah, well, I forewent my nap, and which I really needed today, and I supplemented it with a Monster energy drink, of course, which is why I'm slightly more elevated than normal. So I spent my nap watching that, and it was better than 5, and the gore was good, but story beats are still like we're just redoing Scream 2 over again in a lot of ways, and just. I don't know why we need 3 killers. Or at least 2 plus an accomplice. It's just this is getting stupid. And
so how many people in the Scream universe at this point have been killers? Like what's the sheer number of people?
I guess if you want to count the accomplice in 6, then we would be at a solid 12 across the 6 movies.
I mean, that's more troubling than a killer that keeps coming back from the dead, to be honest with you, for me. Because you only have to suspend your disbelief once about that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay, you can't kill X, right? And then, Bobby from the Campfire Story can't be killed. You're done as soon as you buy that. But to keep buying that, people just keep going like a little bit wonky and want to kill people in the same damn mask. I don't know. See, it's not my series. I've never felt anything for this. I mean, we could talk all day long about how the first film kind of got horror out of the rut, which financially is true. I'm not sure stylistically if I defend that position, but man, they just there's nothing there for me. I don't get what the block is. Something clearly wrong with me.
I think it's just Scream is one of those franchises where you can tune in. It's it's comfortable and familiar to you. But the more of the movies they make, they keep just going back to the first few that people remember watching, and they continue to just get more and more derivative. And this one wasn't as derivative, but it's I don't know. I'm still real. I still think the Sam being the daughter of Billy Loomis and having to struggle with murderous urges, even though she literally never met this motherfucker in her life, because she wasn't even born when those murders happened.
Well, he was like 12 or something when he was the murderer, right? So
it's just, why do we, I don't want to keep doing this because it doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry, but you're not, I understand that there's a concern there and not wanting to end up like your parents if your parents were fucked up, but psychopathy is not genetic.
I just feel too that like as a franchise that feels like it needs to continue and continue and continue. So there's a point with all these franchises that they get just too long in the tooth. They lose all their original meaning, but all of them have some kind of central meaning to begin with. There's some cautionary tale at their core, something that goes back to the campfire stories or the urban legends, and that's true. Like really, of almost everything successful in the horror genre ever.
Mm-hmm.
What is it with Scream? Don't trust your friends. I mean, it's real. It doesn't go back to that same source concept, which maybe is an okay thing if they were replacing it with something equally powerful. I just don't see it. I just get nothing. I just get this.
I think it's the self-awareness, and also the fact that that's kind of what we really like in our pop culture now. We like the meta, we like the self-aware, and a lot of that probably also has to do with the internet. Scream came out short. I mean, some of us had internet access in 96, but I think we were all becoming kind of more aware of ourselves, right? And now we kind of like seeing that in our media, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. But
it's very masturbatory.
Is it healthy though, from a story perspective? Because I mean, ultimately, story should be what we're watching. As much as like your grandmother would be like, "I'm watching my story," and you'd be like, "That's the weirdest way to say that," but in a way, they were more right, because following a story is really what we're supposed to be doing. It's great if that story makes you feel things you have never felt before, or think about things in a way that you've never thought about them before. But at the end of the day, we're following stories.
Mm-hmm.
To me, a story is most compelling when it is relatable. And what makes something truly relatable is that you feel connected to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel connected to classic ghost stories and the urban legends and campfire stories because there's a universal truth to them.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't see Scream getting there. And so you add the kind of like mirror aspect. You want to project yourself on screen. You want to be able to see people that are like you. And I think that's very generational, because I never looked at like John Agar in Revenge of the Creature and said, I am going to be like that guy. He's a pasty white guy, 10 years too old for the role. Whatever. But he was fine because the story was really compelling and the character was right in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but just give me a bunch of young people who look like models. I already can't relate to that. I'm not young. I've never been model, worthy. And then you add a kind of generic murder mystery around it with some slasher murders. I would even argue that like they kind of fail as slashers because they're not designed. Well, they're not really designed like slashers. None of them are.
How do you feel? They feel just more like the murder mystery to you then?
Yeah, absolutely. A cozy murder mystery. Ultimately, at some point in every one of those films, your intrepid kids, like the Scooby-Doo gang, go out there trying to figure out who it could be. I mean, they're so focused on that mystery aspect of who's doing the killing, that really, if you took out the murder sequences, they could be Lifetime movies. Easy.
Oh, it's very soap opera-y at the end of this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we haven't gone full Saw with it.
But yeah, well, Saw, of course, Saw is so interesting because yeah, you're right. Like it's like that level of soap opera interconnected can't possibly keep it straight, even though it's meticulously maintained, right? But on the
Uh-huh.
same rev, like no one who likes soap operas, like really likes soap operas, would be able to deal with Saw. So it's kind of the perfect foil.
Mhm. Yeah. But you know, for free, yeah, I mean it's passable movie for me, but I'm just I guess I'm just getting you know, it didn't seem there were a couple of shots of horror movies in the backgrounds of scenes and a little bit of, you know, banter about it, but it definitely feels like it took more of a back seat to it. I thought it was interesting though that they integrated the whole apparently there's a smear campaign going on against Sam and saying that she actually was the killer and it wasn't Richie and Amber.
How would
So
that work?
uh you know, if you post enough things on social media out of context, eventually it kind of just infects everything like a virus. But yeah, I was like, you know, the gal, the female killer at the end, she, you know, apparently she was the one doing the social media posting for the smear campaign. I'm like, that's straight out of the Johnny Depp Stan handbook. And I'll just leave that there. Y'all can shout at me in the comments if you want.
Yeah, go defend the scumbag wife beater. Go for it, guys. You can have that one for me.
All right.
Yeah.
I did also watch Smile today.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry too. That movie. Why is that movie 2 hours long?
Why isn't it? Why is it a completely unintentional comedy?
Oh,
The scene
I
with the dead cat is one of the funniest things I've
I
seen.
know.
Like, and they thought that was going to be traumatic. You could tell the
No.
filmmakers thought that was going to be traumatic, and it's just you already hate the character. Like that. That is the. Can I? Oh, here's a rant for you and a half.
Do it.
Why can't we have main characters in horror films that we actually like? Or at least if they're going through shit and they're not likable, we should understand where they're coming from and really relate to them on that level. That woman is just nuts. How many times did she say, "I'm not going crazy" in that movie? It's like one per scene every 5 minutes.
It's you know it's between you know she has to uh sorry I have too many thoughts going on in my head right now. She has to take a break from destroying glass to tell everybody she's not crazy because the first 30 minutes she's like broken two wine glasses and fallen through a glass table.
I thought it's funny you're saying this because I really thought I was like, oh, they're doing the mem thing. Because in Men, like there's there's a point where the bird crashes through a window, and if you understand what that story is really doing and how they're smuggling in ideas, you're like, oh my god, that's so clever. Of course, that's a really smart movie, so they never really connect the pieces for you. They're like, either you understand what the final scene is saying or you don't. Have fun, guys. I thought that they were going to do something with the broken wine glasses. I thought they were like, I was positive it was going to have a better meaning. But that movie goes nowhere.
It's frustrating. It you know again it's one of those it suffers from the same fate things like It Follows and Bird Box does. And you know here's a invisible monster essentially until we get to third act and we can kind of see what it is. But for the sake of argument, you're just see there's just some sort of entity that's possessing people and making them kill themselves, right? Just you know like that virus, right? Can't see it essentially. The problem when you have an invisible monster is you set up rules for it and then most of the time they get broken like it's just Calvin ball. There are no rules, you know, at a certain point. I mean, It Follows, apparently you can shoot this thing and it can bleed. So, okay, so it's the Predator.
And it doesn't do well in swimming pools at all.
No. Jesus.
People love It Follows. I've never. I think it's just that they love the idea of that synth score. That's what
yes,
has the babe, right?
it's very nice and atmospheric, and I mean, it did give me the heebie-jeebies. So I have to like pop my own podcast name in there for a second, but it's it definitely falls apart for me, and I'm still kind of salty about that. I mean, Bird Box, on the other hand, fuck that movie. And I hate the fact that we're getting a sequel. I'm so mad.
Well, the novel got a sequel, so.
Oh, fuck, it did? God damn it. Do I have to read that too?
No.
Ugh.
You don't have to read anything. Read All Hollows by Christopher Golden instead. You'll enjoy that.
But I like to be well informed when I'm going to shit on something.
Okay. Well, see, I'm just to the other point where I know I'm not gonna like something, I just don't watch it anymore.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the time and energy anymore. It's like throw all this. You can throw love at the genre or hate at the genre, right? And I'd just rather spend my time talking about the shit I love. It's getting harder. I'm not gonna lie, it's getting a lot harder, but it's funny because I'm putting my thoughts together. Here's a coming preview. I'm going to be doing an autopsy on Psycho 2.
Nice.
Which I'm going to make a very bold statement in that video, so I'll make it here. I think Psycho 2 might be the best conceived sequel in cinema history. And I'm actually putting it over Bride of Frankenstein in that resolve. And that's my favorite film of all time. I'm not saying that Psycho 2 is a better film than Bride of Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
But from a purely conceptual level, it's pretty perfect. Mm-hmm. And that's a really scary thing. But that film came out in 1983, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm looking around and I'm just saying, what is like that today? What understands what it needs to be, works on it until it gets it right, and then makes the movie?
Nothing really comes to mind on my end.
It's scary, right? And that's a movie. The thing about that is, it's like, it's Psycho 2. It has no right to even be good, right? It should be a disaster from the moment someone thought of the idea. Everyone in the world should have said, "Nah, guys, don't make a Psycho 2. What are you thinking?"
Yeah.
But it's this brilliant film that actually I think enhances the original. I'm not gonna say it's a better film than the original. That's a little bit insane, but I think that Psycho is better because Psycho 2 exists. Now, I don't think that Psycho and Psycho 2 are better because Psycho 3 exists, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different kind of film to enjoy. I mean, if you want to enjoy just the stupid, slack-jawed, like, slasher fun of Psycho 3, I get it. But saying it's good, I don't know.
I still haven't seen Psycho 3, and I don't think I finished Psycho 2, so maybe I need to get on that next.
It's so good.
Yeah. I'm sure it would be a welcome break from Smile. I mean, just I think what lost it for me, like I got, it lost it for me early on, and I think there are some beautiful shots in the movie, and it's directed well, but the movie itself just fucking sucks. Yeah, whatever. It's a bad story. There's a scene at the beginning where one of the other people in the psychiatric unit, Carl, he starts doing the creepy smile, which, freaks out our lead, Rose. And he's so happy. He's talking about, I'm going to die. They're going to die. We're all going to die. And I was like, I can't take this seriously. This isn't creeping me out.
It's because it's very much that creepypasta thing, whereas there's an age group that's going to respond to it that grew up on anime, and I understand that you have too, but there's a anime game like video games, but have no connection to older media, right? Mm-hmm. And so everything's very big and very colorful, and I think it's going for that. And that's the creepypasta version of horror. The problem is we have to like characters to even really feel scared for them. And I'm sorry, who was likable in that film? Like, the husband's briefly likable. I thought he was going to be like, I really was hoping they killed off the wife and the movie was about him. after the first
Oh,
act
that
because
would
I
have
was
been
like, well, he's at least like likable. He's trying to hold it together, but he's irrational. He's trying to be like placate his wife, but also get her help. But then like there comes a point where just gotta check out of that situation. And of course, that's not what the movie does. But
Now, I did appreciate seeing Jessie T. Usher playing her fiance because I was like, "Hey, it's A Train from The Boys, fucking
right.
A, literally." No, but I mean, I think he's great at playing an asshole, and I mean that's essentially what he devolves into, which is unfortunate.
Yeah,
But
but it's fairly reasonable considering like I was never on her side with this journey.
no, um, just I mean, when it's revealed at the end, spoilers, guys, if you care. When it's revealed that when she's dealing with this trauma of seeing her mother, of finding her mother dead from, I guess, an overdose of pills or whatever. I don't know of the actual substances. But when she actually confronts that memory and we see it expanded, it's because this 10-year-old kid was like, her mother's asking her to call for help because she made a mistake, which it's like, yes, you shouldn't be putting your children in that situation. Oh, but she fucking walked away, like, damn. I mean, that's not, I feel bad for you. That's a lot of trauma to unpack. But I don't really like, just I don't know.
So there's a way to do that, right? So I mean, this is gonna sound like I'm making a bad joke here because of the show the other night, but Bad Dreams is a movie about a that has a central heroine who is wrong, who for being a part of a cult, and she's still kind of brainwashed, but delusional in that she really believes in the cult ideals for most of the movie, but she grows out of it,
Mm-hmm.
and that therapy is what we're kind of following through that movie. It's the reason the movie works. In this, it's just like, oh, eventually we'll have a big dumb CGI monster come out, and that's how she confronts her Freddy, which is what it is, right?
Yeah, and it's it again. The thing, what irks me also, this could have been edited down to a cool hour and a half, in and out.
Easy.
Yeah, and there's and you could still do the same old trope of, oh no, I need to go do research at the library to find
Oh
out how
my
to beat
god.
the thing. I hate that. I am so tired of it.
Google should not provide the answer to how to kill the big bad. That's just
Mm-mm.
how it is. I mean, it's awful. I even in films that I like when they do it, I get angry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Empty Man does it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, but the thing is, the Empty Man, the answers that they get are not like, okay, so here's some stereo instructions about how to kill the monster. It's just it gives you a background. Okay, so this is why he goes in that direction, right? It's a little more tolerable. I still hate it. I still hate it.
Oh, obviously.
But I just think it's one of those things. It's like exclamation points. Like I'm personally against them because they're telling the reader how to feel about a line rather than having just finding powerful enough words that they'll get it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's kind of the same thing. It's like there has to be a way to convey this information without it being just straight exposition that you're literally reading off a screen on a screen.
Yeah.
That's the laziest way. Now, could you argue that in certain types of media, an exclamation point makes a lot of sense because, like a kid's book, I mean, maybe,
The kid's
maybe
excited to be reading.
right, maybe it makes sense there because the economy of words is more important than the shortcut, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I like my horror films, especially if they're taking themselves seriously, which I think Smile does. Well, then treat the drama, treat the actual storytelling with some amount of respect. That's all.
Yeah. Do you think that was trying to say anything poignant about trauma? Because I feel like they were trying to do trying to do a Babadook, but they got everything kind of
They took the
crossed.
yeah, they took the wrong messages. Yeah, no, I think unfortunately it's kind of A24 has not that Babadook is not an A24 film, but A24 has kind of made a lot of the big studios say, "Can we do that? Can we do the smart horror thing?" So you're tying a fantasy to a very real trauma. That's how that's done, huh? And yeah, sure, that's how that's done, but it's like telling a joke. You can tell a joke really well, and another guy can use exactly the same words and tell it really poorly. There's a lot more to creating great pieces of art when you're trying to actually, I don't know, express some ideas, make people feel things. And Smile's just a great case of they probably understood how to do what they were doing. They just didn't do it.
Yeah, part of what confused me a little bit was, so essentially, it's not just trauma, but it's also it's also talking a little bit about suicide contagion, which
Real
that's a
thing.
thing, sure. And there's one person who lived because he murdered somebody, and there was a witness to it. And I'm thinking, okay, so if the smiley monster is supposed to represent trauma, and this is how trauma acts, then in order to counteract trauma,
You got to create new trauma.
we have to be aggro. And I'm like, no, you're not. No, that's a terrible way of dealing with trauma. Yes, I realize. I realize that I'm right here.
So let me fix the scene. So she goes to visit him in the prison, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he reveals that it's actually it's this curse was passed along to him, but he went back into his past and he hunted down the priest that had molested him as a son, as a child, and killed that guy. Wow, we're done. That works because we're putting it in the right place. But when it's just like, oh, I know, I just kind of killed a guy.
I would say, when it seems to me, if you really wanted to break this curse, then if somebody was killing themselves in front of you, you would do everything in your power to save them. And I feel most people would probably do that anyway, regardless of whether or not they knew there was a curse. Where the final scene where she self-immolates, Kyle Gallner's fucking character, Horror King my ass. So he's just fucking standing there watching it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so the curse just continues. Cool story, guys. Can I go home now?
Well, again, that's a case of taking the wrong lesson. It's like the point at the end of Ringu, which, let's face it, Ringu is responsible for all these cyclical horror type of curses. Although Curse of the Demon a little bit, but mostly Ringu. At the end of Ringu, spoilers for those who haven't seen one of the greatest films in the last 25 years. When she realizes that the answer is she has to pass the curse on to save her son, when she chooses to basically sacrifice her father, we don't need to see her do it. She calls her dad, doesn't tell him what's going on, just says that she's coming to visit, and she gets in a car and they drive into a storm cloud. It's such a powerful moment because it's what she's making a Sophie's choice, right? She's made it. The problem with something like Smile is, like, you could hypothetically just kill anyone and get out of it. You don't actually have to make that deep a sacrifice, right?
Yeah.
So, like, that ending of like, oh well, the curse is going to go on and on and on. No, that's not what Ringu was saying. Ringu is a story about a girl who is murdered by her father.
Yep.
Right. So it makes sense to write that. You have to feed that curse, and it's the little girl now, the grown-up woman, killing her father. It's a perfect mirror. It is so well conceived. Where Smile's just like, just as long as you kill someone, it's good. Or kill yourself. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Just kill something. Yeah. It's sloppy.
Yeah. But, yeah. Well, if that was a thing that I saw, I would probably, if you're going to be on, because I found this on Amazon Prime, but also on Amazon Prime, would definitely recommend Swarm, which is a TV series. And it's about this young woman. She gets obsessed with a pop idol who's basically a stand-in for Beyonce. They call it, instead of the Bayhive, it's the Swarm. And then she just, it just takes some weird dark turns, and it kind of looks at the parasocial relationship that she has with this pop star, and how she has it confused with her own best friend, right? How those two things kind of overlap. But I would definitely recommend that. That had some very good storytelling, and I was just really into it the whole time.
Yeah, it depresses me that some really talented people are working in television these days, because I think the format is not healthy. The having to tell like open-ended stories so that you can tell another story next week or next episode, and when a person simply pushes the skip the credits and watch the next episode. I think that like having to have kind of like have a wash, rinse, repeat pattern to storytelling is not healthy. However, there's some extremely, extremely gifted people working in television, because why would you work in film? Why would you do that now? I mean,
don't know.
no one's going to let you tell a good story unless you happen to be someone, if you're working for A24 and they say, "Hey, I got this." If you're Rose Glass, you can make, a brilliant one-off horror film, but
Mm-hmm.
you're not getting that opportunity from Universal or Paramount or Disney.
No.
You're just not. So why would you work in film? If you care about storytelling, why would you work in film?
Money.
Yeah, money. I guess we should answer some questions.
I know. I guess so.
Dan says, "What are the top 3 best horror movies, new novels you've read in 2023?" The horror movies question, I'm not going to be able to answer.
You haven't seen 3 new horror movies?
I haven't seen 3 that I would recommend.
Fair.
It's been a really soft opening of the year, and we're almost halfway through the year. That's not a good sign. We just came off of 3 years that I thought were pretty strong in the genre, and for this year to be as messy as it is, I don't know what to say. My favorite films of the year are not horror films. That's a problem for me. They're great films, but they're. If you want to see a great film, Driver Jamuna is a great revenge action thriller about a rideshare operator who who answers a call to pick up 3 people about to make that get breakdown, whose car breaks down on the way to committing a political assassination.
Wow.
We don't get that in America, huh?
No, we sure don't.
But it's surprising. It has twists and turns, and it is a crazy ass little movie. It's from India. It's 2 hours long. It doesn't feel 2 hours long. It's awesome. It's not my favorite film of the year. It's on my list though, but it kind of showcases the fact that it's not getting exciting stuff in America. Usually by this point, I'd have like, I'd have your Molochs and your, I don't know, whatever the things over the last few years I've really liked. You'd have them being built up already. Last year I already had a list of them. We were kicking things off the top 10. I don't have that this year.
I've not really had much of a chance to watch as many horror movies as I would like so far. So I can only put I can only do a top 2. I don't think I would put Scream 6 up there. It might make a top 20 list. We'll see we'll see at the end of the year.
It depends whether you see 21 films.
Yeah, we'll find out. Because I mean, I've seen The Devil Conspiracy, which was just religious propaganda film, although it did have some like actually kind of like fucking wild moments. But that's not going to make it up there. I like Megan. Megan's probably. I feel like right now it's Megan and then Renfield, and that's all I have. I don't have a top 3.
I fell asleep during Renfield.
Oh,
I didn't get what everyone else was getting out of it. But again, it's not a horror film. It's a comedy. I mean,
yes,
really, and that's just not my thing, really. I haven't seen Megan. I don't know. Megan, just there's something about that film that just makes me hesitate.
I wasn't expecting to enjoy it at all. I thought it was going to be very similar to the Child's Play reboot that we got, which I liked. That I did not like it as part of the part of the franchise. I liked the plot. I don't want it as a Chucky movie. So I guess that would make sense about why I liked it with Megan. I just didn't feel like it fit with Chucky.
Well, I don't think it was. Yeah, no, I think I like the idea that it didn't have the baggage of the rest of the franchise,
Mm-hmm.
and it could do its own thing, and it did. Like,
Yeah.
but whatever. I'm not going to relitigate it. It wasn't the top 10 of my year they came out anyway, but I do like that movie. As far as novels, which I can talk to, All Hallows, Christopher Golden, the one I recommended to you earlier. That's a lot of fun. It's 80s retro storytelling, but what's cool about it is it's not 80s retro the way you're expecting it. It's 80s retro as far as like paperback horror novels. Don't Fear the Reaper by Stephen Graham Jones. Stephen Graham Jones just continues to be one of those guys that, to me, it can do no wrong. Seems like a little bit of his energy is being, I don't know, siphoned off to other people, and that's a little bit annoying to me because he's turning out to be one of the best storytellers of our generation.
Mm-hmm.
I just think he needs, and he's one of us. That's the other thing. Like he's like us. He could talk these movies. He's not like Ivory Tower guy at all. So, and then I read Cassandra Cass, Salt Grows Heavy, which I'm still kind of processing whether I liked or not, which is probably a good thing. There's a lot of there. It's just a matter of it's not a page turner in that respect. It's not something you're gonna read like, and it's a fun on every page. But I did have a lot of fun with it. I can't. Well, I can't say I had fun. I enjoyed it. Does that work? I'm also rereading. It's right here, actually. Frank Belknap Long's *The Hounds of Tindalos*.
Nice.
It's a short story collection. One of Lovecraft's friends from back in the day. Much more fantasy than horror. There's horror elements, and there's a lot of mythos, name drops. Good stuff, though. And of course, the title story is just one of the best kind of, sort of werewolf stories ever. I don't know. Fun stuff. So hope that helps, Dan. I think Dan probably has seen and read everything we just talked about anyway.
I've read 2 books, and one of them was yours.
So I'm doing well on your list.
Yeah. Or you beat our EC Tub, because the other book was The Winds of Gath. So not a John Carter of Mars, but Earl Dumarest. So we still have a couple of those old serials lying around. But that wasn't bad. It's brief, it's part of those, you've got one book on one side and then you flip it over and you've got another book on the other side, just more like short little novellas.
I see. There used to be, in the early 90s, there was a series of a small press series that did that, where they'd hire 2 writers to write novellas, and then you'd turn the book over when you wanted to read one versus the other. Don't remember what they were called, or even the publisher's name. I don't think they're still around.
Oh, I got to introduce my parents to Moonfall.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing.
I mean, they enjoyed it. I just think I had more fun rewatching it and laughing at all of the crazy shit all over again. And you know what? It holds up to rewatch.
That movie has a lot to do. It has a lot in common with like the Top Gun sequel, in that it's blatantly reflective of another time, a better time for film, right? Because like Moonfall, as ridiculous as this core concept is, it reminds you of when Roland Emmerich was blowing up cities every other summer, right?
Yep.
And it I don't know. It's just, if it feels good when something feels a little bit more real.
Yeah. It was so fun. I mean, I would not be upset if they wanted to make a sequel, as long as it keeps being as weird as the first one, or trying to be weird.
Yeah. Pepper Dion says, any insights into what Saw X is going to be like? I'm pretty curious about that one.
Well, I know Shawnee Smith's coming back with Tobin Bell, so I wonder if that's going to be in flashback footage mostly, or if it's going to be acting more like a prequel.
I know I don't know anything about it. I have a good time with the Saw movies. I just do.
Hmm.
And they've been pretty consistent. Now, Spiral I liked, but I've had no desire to go back and rewatch. And Jigsaw, kind of the same thing. Like I liked it. So I haven't had a Saw film since I guess six was the last one that I like immediately was like I could watch that anytime, right?
Hmm.
So the last three have been not as I don't know important to me, but I like all those movies. I don't think there's a film in the bunch that completely just shits the bed. So
Hmm.
I'm down to see what happens with X. I would bet that. So the only thing I heard really early on when they announced the film is that they didn't want to make this one as self-contained as the last two had been. So I'm
Oh,
guessing that means you need to know the mythology in order to follow every in and out of it. Which I listen for fans like me that's awesome. For
yeah.
more casual fans, it's probably like torture, but that's okay. It's a film with a
Hmm.
little bit of torture in it anyway.
Yeah. I did rewatch Spiral. I believe it was last year, and I think it has better rewatchability than Jigsaw. Although I did like Jigsaw, it's just even though Spiral is extremely predictable.
Yeah, well, Spiral wanted to be a little bit more of a straight police procedural than Saw has ever been,
Yeah.
and I mean that makes sense. I don't think it was a bad decision. I just think, you know, coming this late in a series, maybe it's too simple or easy of a move.
Hmm.
Um, but listen, there'll be 10 films in this for the franchise very soon. Um, there's other series that have more, but not many more. So the fact that I legitimately like every chapter in the Saw
Hmm.
franchise has a better track record than anything else with its number of films for me.
Definitely.
Except maybe if we're considering all of Godzilla to be one continuous franchise, which I really don't.
Hmm.
I think that the different eras are their own franchises, but um, I don't know. And even that, I mean, there's different. Godzilla's a little bit different. You don't watch Godzilla in the same mindset that you do a lot of other films.
I just hope everybody at home can. Oh, never mind. I was gonna put Lucy on camera. She's been on my lap just for the purpose of trying to steal my hair tie that's on my desk.
I see.
It's just this one hair tie.
Jacob's saying, in terms of violence, Psycho 2 is more slashery than Psycho 3, especially with that house by the cemetery kill. Um, if we're talking about the kill scenes, just the kill scenes, sure, but Psycho 3 pretty much wants to be a slasher film. Psycho 2 really wants to be a proto slasher like the first film.
Hmm.
It came out at a time where you weren't going to avoid the Halloween Friday 13th touches, but it's got so much more going on. That is a film conceptually. If I said, so imagine this. Imagine if Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 didn't exist, right? Or any
Hmm.
of the franchise after that. And Toby Hooper had said, I'm going to make a film 22 years after Texas Chainsaw Massacre in which Leatherface is released from an insane asylum and we're going to be sympathetic to him. And he's going to go back home to a town that doesn't accept him. Right? That's what Psycho 2 does. That's the
Yeah.
high bar, and it works. It works because it's really real well written. The dialogue is amazing. Anthony Perkins really nails it. This whole supporting cast is awesome. Dennis Franz is like perfect for his role.
Mhm.
I would argue. Uh, so it also does really cool things, right? Like Lila Crane is now spoilers. Lila Crane is now a villain. How cool is that? The final girl of the first film is a villain of the
Mhm.
sequel. I would argue that it understood the first film almost too well
Mhm.
and knew how to go in there and weave a story that enhances that first film. Um, the big twist at the end with the real mother, a lot of people were like, "Well, that comes out of nowhere." Yeah, so about that, the first film does exactly the same thing.
It's a good
So
point.
it's like it's so in tune with the first film. It's such a good bookend, and it's not. Again, it isn't about the. It's not about the people that get slashed to death. Yeah, we have that couple that sneak into the basement. I get it, right? I get that that's the big kind of body count moment. But besides that, where its head is about the psychological drama of you're following the guy who you used to hate and all the people you used to love or like in a classic film are now the villains. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just so good. It's so much braver. Like slasher films don't try and do shit like that.
No, that's
Uh,
why we keep getting more Scream movies that gotta follow the formula. The
right.
only thing, I mean, we're just gonna get, I mean, Scream, when we get Scream 7, that's just gonna be Tara, killing Sam because Sam went off the deep end and now she's the killer. And I'm just lazy writing.
Well, I think they're. I mean, what when the Scream films are making the money they're making, do you upset the cherry cart? I mean, it's a business to them.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm sorry, Mike, Fifth Beatle. I really didn't mean to steal your thunder on this, but I'm not going to be able to visit you tomorrow, so we're doing this. The subject of AI is everyone's talking about. And, oh well, if AI is writing movies and books, and well, it's like Hollywood's already doing this shit. They're just using people to do it because
Yeah.
they're driving it like, oh well, the marketing says we want Scream 7 to be exactly like Scream 6. We don't want to deviate at all, so we hire someone to write that, and we don't approve the screenplay until they write that thing. So who cares if a machine writes it or a person writes it at that point?
Really, kind of no difference.
It,
I
it,
think
it,
we
it's
might, I don't think AI is going to be replacing anybody right now, but I do think it can be used as a tool creatively. I'm not sure what the quality of the output will be because, we already have, some AI written books out there. I think you would have to have more samples to kind of judge.
the argument is that do you need like do you need anyone reinventing the wheel to write a new Halloween movie? Well, maybe AI is just fine for it because based on what we're getting anyway. I don't like the idea of eventually the creative process being owned completely by the businesses and the marketing teams, which is what AI will be.
Mhm.
I mean, what they're not talking about is the intention is like we're going to send bots out all over the web to see what people want in a new Scream movie, and the bots will come back and tell the AI program, "Oh, they really like this moment. They didn't like that moment, and so don't write that type of moment, but write this type of moment." I mean, they're not. It's not. They're going to use all the feedback that already exists out in the ether we call the internet
It'll,
to build exactly what they think we want.
it'll just be faster.
It'll be a lot faster, and it'll probably be right. The scary thing is, I think when we get that first AI written horror movie, because let's face it, like the horror genre has always been about exploitation. Anything that can get eyes on your project, you'll do. So
Yeah.
will you let a AI write your horror movie if it means you're going to be the first out there and you're going to be able to get the press? It's someone's going to do it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: I bet people are going to like that movie
I know. I wonder
because
if
it's
it,
going
do
to
you
be
think
all
it
the
would
elements
ever,
they like.
do you think it would ever be a thing where we have to label media with how much was produced by AI?
I don't know because right now right now, like to get a standing writing credit on a film, you have to write a substantial portion of the screenplay. If you go in and work on it, but they only use 20% of your writing, you might not even get a credit. So is it?
Hmm.
I don't know. I think when you talk about books, novels, it's a little bit different because a novel isn't merely a story.
Yeah.
Um, and developing characters that aren't just conglomerations of the other characters in a genre that people like already. That's a different process. It's just fundamentally different. I'm not saying it couldn't happen and it couldn't be a serious problem down the road, but I see film as much more vulnerable because
Yeah.
the profit margin has to be so much larger because it's just an expensive art to make.
Mm-hmm. Also, I mean, when I say that, that there are already books being written by AI, a lot of those are just children's books. I don't think something like ChatGPT really has the capabilities to put out a full novel with, I mean, but the thing is, you still also have to feed it prompts.
Yeah. Well, you got to tell it what you want it to create. And then it's going to ask for examples that are similar to what you want. But that's the problem. Like, while we feed this machine, right? Every time you buy a ticket to a Halloween movie or a Scream movie, every time we make a post on social media about these things, and the people who put out 7 videos a week about these franchises, the problem is you're telling the AI of the world, the future AI of the world, that this is what we want more of. We want exactly this thing. Create more like that. And then the problem is like a movie like Men or a movie like Saint Maud,
Yeah.
right? Let alone a Hereditary, right? How do they get made in an environment whereas the marketing teams are like, yeah, but we can't prove that will do well, and if we have the machine do it, it'll scour the internet, it'll find all the data we need, it'll create exactly what those people want to buy. We'll figure out exactly what the art has to look like on the cover. I'm not. I think on the long term, the downside isn't so much that people might get exactly what they want; it's that they will never get what they don't realize they want.
Yes. It's sort of like the space between spaces.
Right.
That's very true.
Sorry, Mike. I'm very interested to hear what you have to say about it tomorrow night, even though I'll have to watch it on repeat because I'll be at work. There you go. What did I say?
Oh, nice.
I told you, Dan knows it all.
This is true.
Anything. Wow, this chat is crazy. You guys are like nuts tonight. Hello, Mr. Bombastic. Jacob is saying Terrifier 2 is definitely an improvement over the first one.
I haven't seen it.
On technical levels, it definitely was. There's no question about that. It's also like way too long.
Was it 2.5?
It's like 220 or something. I saw it in the theater and I was like, okay, I'm getting it, but I don't know. For some reason, I don't connect with those films like other people are. It's not because of the new film thing either, because they are definitely crafted by human hands.
Mm-hmm.
They don't feel like artificial at all.
Yeah.
But there's a lot there. There's a lot of film there for not much more than what things we've seen before. But Dan's right. Like the ending of that movie, that's what I want the whole next movie to be. Give me the post-credit sequence of Terrifier 2 as the entire next movie. Be freaking balls to the wall insane. And I'll be good. But the gore is the thing that really bothers me. It's like not that it's really gory. The fact that everyone's talking about it being really nasty and gory, and the mainstream aren't going to accept it. It's not extreme. It's not extreme. There's far, far worse stuff out there. I mean, there's worse stuff that has made it onto cinema screens. There's a movie. Again, it's an Indian movie. I'm sorry, guys, but called Hit: The Second Story, that opens with a police team arriving at a crime scene, and when they walk in the room, there's a girl that's been dismembered, and her body is kind of arranged like a jigsaw puzzle that hasn't quite been put together. And it's
so like Pangea.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
When you pretend to fit the continents together to make Pangea in school.
But it is unbelievably realistic and graphic. and you're not ready for it when it happens. That to me was far more effective than anything in Terrifier 2 or Terminator 2 for that matter, which is what I began to say. You see that Arnold Schwarzenegger is saying that he hasn't liked the Terminator film since Part 3. I'm like, dude, that's the same as everyone. Okay, just stop. But then he did. He said he's done. He's not doing it anymore, which is good because I can't imagine who's going to finance more of those things.
Unnecessary.
I heard that they're doing animated next anyway. That's the whole thing they're going to do.
Oh
CGI
God!
animated
Now
Terminator movie.
Well, I think we're getting that Gremlins animated TV series on HBO Max, and okay, look, I get that. I'm all for kids getting introduced to horror somehow, and sure, yeah, Gremlins, but give me my fucking Gremlins 3. That's all. It's so simple.
Yeah, but do you want a Gremlins 3 that's not Joe Dante? That's the thing. I don't. So, I mean, I want a Gremlins 3 if Joe Dante is let do whatever mad, crazy bullshit he wants to do.
I know.
I don't know. I feel the same way about the Critters series. Like, stop making Critters into something it's not, and make the Critters film that it wants to be. It wants to be out there. I mean, it shouldn't be hard, but they keep making bullshit.
Dude! Moonfall meets Critters.
Exactly. Like Critters, you can go as crazy as anything Gremlins ever did, or just bite the bullet, get the rights, and do Gremlins versus Critters, which is what everyone wants anyway.
Oh, that'd be great.
You want to see a gremlin get eaten by a critter, don't you?
Yes, I want to also I want
to see a gremlin with a chainsaw attacking a critter. I want to see that. Jacob has a good way to finish off the conversation about AI. He says AI can make Halloween Kills, but it cannot make censor.
That is so true.
Yep. Dan says he does not see Gremlins 3 working in 2023.
I mean, what kind of gremlins would we have for this year? We're going to have an influencer gremlin. Oh, podcaster gremlins.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, we're already podcaster gremlins. And my cat is just in and out over here. She just cannot decide if she wants to come.
That is not true, Dan. Neither of those things really exist. Stop spreading lies. I'm a big, I'm a big Critters mark, and like the third film is not good. The fourth film is not good, but I like them anyway. And I'll be first to say, like, the first two films are great. The second two films are not. But those new things, that web series was so fucking bad, and that direct to DVD crap movie.
So I watched a little bit of the web series, and that's the one where they're talking, right?
Yeah.
Okay. When they started talking, I was like, nah.
Well, they talk in all the movies a little bit, but it's always like a punchline. It's like you get through. They might say like one sentence every once in a while, and it's subtitled, and it's a joke. But like in that web series, they're like planning shit, and
I don't need a critter soliloquy. I'm good.
I don't know. We need the brain critter. We need, right? No, that's the thing I love about Critters 2. Critters and Critters 2 is like how fucking like they're really, really, really intelligent and really, really, really stupid at the same time. Like they're piloting ships and stealing and breaking out of intergalactic prisons. But then if they get hungry, they're probably going to make really bad decisions. I love that.
I can relate so much to this.
Yeah.
I too make the worst decisions when I'm hungry.
Ooh, Ben. Friends don't let friends make decisions like that.
Ben Grimm is also hungry right now.
There's no way to justify Ghoulies being better than Critters. Jacob has the right order here, probably on a technical level, though I do have more fondness for Critters than Gremlins. I love the Gremlins. I love them. I love Joe Dante. But there's something about those tumbleweeds I love. No one loses in that debate of Gremlins or Critters, right? Like they're just both awesome. But
Yes,
the
you can have
Ghoulies,
both.
I'd remind you that Ghoulies 4 exists, in which they put little people in makeup instead of head puppets. That happened. It's shot in a warehouse, by the way.
I don't know how to react to that.
It's there's no way to react to it. It's one of the worst things you'll ever see.
Is that a movie that's only appropriate to watch while in an altered state?
It's a film that only exists on VHS, I believe.
So intrigued now.
Someone out there will Google and come up with some like cheap ass DVD release from like 1999 or something. But
Dan already searched for it.
Yeah, Dan's like, well, I'm gonna have a 4K version up on the drive later for you guys. That's an in joke for just like 7 people.
Come on, Lucy. Sorry, again, cat issues. She's trying to act sweet so she can get my hair tie.
Yeah, it's one of the great film moments of all time. Although, for my money, like Gremlins and Critters also have something else in common, which is that I like the sequel better than the original.
Yeah, I used to kind of, because just Gremlins 2 is just, Gremlins 1 is a great movie, but Gremlins 2 just is so much stuff. There's so many things happening in it.
Gremlins 2 knows it's a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it makes no bones about it. It's like, nah, we're not going to try and fool you on this one. We're making a fucking crazy ass cartoon and you're going to deal with it.
And I appreciate the fact that Key and Peele did the Gremlins 2 sketch. It's beautiful. Just with all the random Gremlin ideas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I love when they actually point out all the flaws of the first film in that movie. It's like, what if a gremlin has something caught in its teeth and it ingests it after midnight? What happens if he's on a plane and he crosses a time zone?
I think Hulk Hogan used that excuse when he said that he wrestled, twice in one day or something like that. He's like, yeah, I flew across the international date line to Japan or whatever.
Well, he's in the movie. Wow.
True.
He's in the theatrical version.
The theatrical one, yes.
The VHS version is just
Gremlins.
But you see that, like, how movies like that don't happen anymore, right? Like, we're gonna make a sequel to one of the biggest films ever, and we're gonna go in a completely gonzo direction. I mean, maybe Blair Witch 2 was the last time someone
kind of, yeah.
Right? And I love that movie. Book of Shadows. Fun. Book of Shadows just needs to be loved.
I like Book of Shadows just fine. I like it better than the first Blair Witch, but I also have not seen the remake, so
I think they're just different animals. I love both the first films. Then that third thing is not just no. And I wanted to like it. I'm the guy who like wanted to stick up for that movie, but man, it's bad. I don't understand that.
Oh, Hulk Hogan's a racist. That's yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, now you do.
Well, it's part of my repertoire now.
Yes. You'll always know that. You'll never be able to get it out of your brain.
So, Pepperdine, it has one. There was a French double disc with Blair Witch Project and Book of Shadows Blair Witch 2. It's a box set. You can still find it sellers on eBay and stuff. It was limited, but it exists and it's glorious. So that transfer exists as a 2K transfer. It's out there, babe. I thought it was French, dude. Dan proves me wrong. I have it downstairs. I could go grab it, but I'm not going to because I'm lazy.
Well, you're also live too.
That's true. Oh wow.
Oh yeah.
It keeps you're moving stuff on me.
I haven't touched anything except that one comment.
Okay. On the subject of gore, I'd like to show Irreversible to someone who thinks Terrifier 2 is disturbing. Yeah. Well, sure. Or Martyrs, right? After
Sorry.
What did you say?
I need to shut the fuck up. But what is Irreversible?
Irreversible is a French film from, is it Christopher Gans? I think so. It's broadly a rape and revenge film, but it's told in a very peculiar fashion.
Hmm.
It's also a film that features a 10-minute rape sequence in a subway,
Ooh. Okay.
which
Yeah,
just
that's.
gets just gets progressively more uncomfortable because it's basically just puts you there and makes you watch it.
I'm gonna.
Um,
I'm gonna pass.
also fire extinguishers. I'll just say fire extinguishers.
Okay.
Underrated as weapons.
Oh yes. Yes.
Oh, Jasper, no, you're correct, Jacob. Christopher Gans did Brotherhood of the Wolf, didn't he? That's what I'm screwing up here.
You look lost in thought.
Well, the chat is messing with my head. Why do you like Book of Shadows more? I didn't say I like it more. I said they're different.
Oh, I
beasts.
said that. I like Book of
Oh,
Shadows.
okay.
I guess it's just, oh, what was the goth girl's name and the witch? I really liked both of those characters, and it just kind of felt more, honestly, it's like there's something. I'm sorry, I have cat issues tonight. She's being a little distracting. I know. I liked both of those characters, and I also like the fact that they started capitalizing that one guy, I can't remember his name. I'm sorry, I can't remember any of these characters now. I do like the fact that they're capitalizing off of the Blair Witch thing and just running their own kind of scam.
Yeah,
that was kind of a nice touch. But it is just it feels more like the horror movies I was watching around then. So it was familiarity.
I also like a certain amount of interference from the studios in films. I know you're not supposed to admit that, but like Blair Witch is a great example of exactly the type of film that needed the studio to come and be like, you're not making it exploitation enough. We need you to kill off a bunch of tourists at the beginning. I know, it's silly, but do it, please. And yeah, it's shot in the guy's backyard and it looks like crap. But those insert shots, to me, like, are important thematically because later it's talking about how, everything on video is real and everything on film is fake.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way to decode that movie. Well, all that stuff that's added is all video. So it works brilliantly. I really think that sometimes when a studio fucks with a director, what comes out is such a weird hodgepodge that's a thing of beauty in itself. I don't know. I think Blair Witch 2 is a significant work. And yeah, Jacob, Kim director, I've met her. She was very nice. I think it was the first time she'd done conventions too, because like no one was coming up to her. And I remember, Kim director is a very attractive woman. And I remember that they had her like two tables away from Linnea Quigley. And Linnea had a line and she did not. And Kim's like looking at her and going, what am I doing wrong?
Not you, Kim.
Yeah. Dan wants to know, what is your favorite non-franchise found footage movies?
I don't care for found footage for the most part. It's never really been my thing. Yeah. But I'd go with As Above, So Below. So far, that's been my favorite one.
Now, is that because of the philosophy underneath it? Because I know that's close to your heart.
Yes. More alchemy movies, please.
I'm trying to remember.
There were some excellent scenes also. I remember when I watched it with Chris, one of them got one of the there was one jump scare that got him. I think it's when that dude kind of like falls in the cave, just like really rapidly, just out of nowhere. And Chris is very difficult to get a jump scare on. But I did appreciate the thought that went into that story with the Philosopher's Stone. Even if it didn't really, sometimes you just can't really connect the dots all the way with stories about alchemy, though.
So this is a real tough one for me because I'm trying to come up with the title of the film that I really loved. There was a film about two brothers who are on a killing spree who record it, And I can't remember the title of the film at the moment at all, and it's driving me absolutely out of my mind. Um, I'm not a big found footage guy. I mean, the reason Blair Witch worked was because there was nothing like Blair Witch at the time, and because of those performances. Heather Donahue, people underestimate what she accomplished in that format. Like,
Mhm.
if you're too stagey in found footage, it is death knell. And if you're not acting at all, it just doesn't feel like you're watching anything of substance. There's a
Mhm.
balance, and she is freaking amazing. People go, "Oh, she was annoying." The fact that you got what she wanted from her performance so strongly, you're underestimating her.
Yep.
I think the boys are good too. I don't think I, I I mean, to be honest with you, the townies in the beginning are all over the place. Some of them are painful. Then again, maybe that also comes from when the first time I saw it was a cut of the film before that footage. Most of that footage was there. So maybe I'm just a little bit weird about it anyway. I don't like that the old woman in the obvious prosthetic makeup who's talking about the Blair Witch.
Mhm.
I want that all that footage needs to be scrapped. It's bad. I know without it you don't have the explanation of the ending with standing in the corner. I get it, but man, I didn't have it the first time I watched it, and it was more powerful, I think.
Yeah, I think that's probably why I like Blair Witch too, because there's less of the found footage.
Yeah.
You still have to integrate, obviously, but for the most part, it's just a standard movie.
Dan is putting up Ghostwatch. I wouldn't call it Ghostwatch exactly found footage. It has a very specific narrative conceit, which is that it is a television broadcast of a investigative journalist team. So it's similar, but it's not exactly because they keep cutting back to the studio and the anchors, and so it's not. It's using a narrative device. It's not really found footage per se, I'd say. And then you could say that's true of I always point out that Peeping Tom never gets talked about with found footage films, and it probably deserves to be. But again, most of that film is conventionally told. It's only the murder sequences that are really told from inside the camera.
Mhm.
But I don't know. Found footage. My problem is it seems self-limiting on the type of stories that can be told and how those stories can be resolved.
Yeah, that's
It
true.
it feels like it's the same shit so many times. It's just a different monster. Um, and I'm not. I guess until it's not. Um, nah, I don't want to say that because someone's gonna get angry at me. Well, so behind the mask, right? The Rise of Leslie
Vernon.
Vernon. Until it's not a found footage film, it's pretty effective. And then it becomes a different film entirely, and it still works. Glad there was never that remake of what was it, half remake, half sequel thing that they were talking about making. So glad that never happened. Oh, there's a good one. The Take of Deborah Logan. Yeah, I agree.
I keep meaning to watch that, but haven't gotten around to it.
It's not a easy watch really. It's something you're gonna need to give
Yeah,
some time to breathe.
probably need a little bit of space on that one.
Yeah,
But I did not know Firuza Balk had a sex tape. How did Twitter not let me know this?
because it doesn't exist. I'm assuming that's a joke, right?
I have no idea.
I'm gonna
Is that a
choose to
real
believe.
thing?
I choose to believe that it is not a real thing.
Okay, well, chat now. Take him to task if necessary.
Do not send proof.
Yes, please. Do
No.
not.
No. There's
Do not
things we do not. There's things we do not need to be doing. Oh my god. So it's not found footage properly, but if you guys really want to go back and the team that made the Quatermass films in Britain, and not everything but that the started everything before the one in '88. There's a kind of side story called the Stone Tape, which is it's definitely not going to be for everyone, but I like it quite a lot. Again, not found footage precisely. I don't want to give away like what it is, but if you haven't seen that, that might be something you want to dig around if you like those awkward narrative devices that found footage does. It does something inside the ballpark. And then, of course, you have to, so we can't have this discussion without mentioning Cannibal Holocaust, I guess. But again, half that movie's not. So, oh, there you go. Jacob says he loves the Stone Tape.
Nice.
Good to know people out there have stretched out their wings to find some of this stuff, because to me, that's what's so cool about the genre, is that you can keep searching and you'll continue to find stuff. That's why I don't like the idea of like, oh, we're gonna watch the same shit. I'm gonna watch, Leatherface Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 3 again for the 50th time. Believe me, there's better ways to spend your time in the genre at this point. I'm not saying you shouldn't have watched it a couple times in your life, but you don't need to watch like just the big Hollywood things over and over and over and over. You just don't.
Oh, interesting aside here. Kind of loops back to Scream 6, but there is a monologue where they're talking about the whole thing with franchises, right? So they make it a point to be like, yeah, see, legacy characters can get killed off. No one's safe. Even the final girls. Look at Laurie Strode, Nancy Thompson, Sally Hardesty. And then I was just reminded that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from last year exists.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I could send you a card if it'll make you feel better. I don't like that movie at all. Like, when it was pretty much positively received by the community, I kind of said very little because I just didn't want to engage. But that movie's a mess.
It's full of holes. I mean, no one's surprised, but...
Yeah, but...
I guess if you
How easier is it to avoid all the problems? Pretty easy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess it's sort of... If you go in having no expectations, the movie will meet that.
Right.
But if you have anything else in mind...
If there's no bar, you can't be under it.
Yeah, I mean, the part of the movie I liked was just, Leatherface on the bus where they're talking about canceling him. I'm like, okay, that's a fair chuckle. I'll laugh at that, but that's all I got. It's a bit sad because, I mean, the idea of a bunch of influencers going in on a town, that's kind of a cool idea if you want to make a modern horror movie.
So Dan, like, we'll never get a high def version of Darkroom, but I love Darkroom. I think it's the best anthology horror series that's ever existed. Now, I'm not putting Twilight Zone in that category because Twilight Zone was not. Sometimes it was horror, sometimes it was not. For a pure horror anthology show, Darkroom is the best thing that's ever been out there, by far. Better than Tales from the Dark Side by a decent margin. Way better than Monsters. It's just amazing. And I don't think we'll ever get anything of that quality again because we'll never have people adapt existing short stories like that. The first season of Creepshow did, and they abandoned that. And I liked the first season of Creepshow quite a lot. Much more than the second and third seasons. But it still wasn't as good as Darkroom. Darkroom is the shit. And the fact that no one knows that Darkroom exists, well, that's an issue. I love this. Kim Henkel stops licensing your IP to anyone who writes you a check. Yeah, but I mean, at this point in his life, I love the fact that the marketing team behind the American release of Lucio Fulci's The Beyond, when it was being titled Seven Doors of Death, put a quote on the poster that they attributed to Kim Henkel that he never said. He never endorsed the film, but they just claimed he did. I love that. And it's like, they did it to a guy who doesn't even have name recognition. Okay, Jacob, we're going to talk. I've talked about ghost stories for Christmas before. I love them. but the quality's all over the place. Like there's ones that are just amazing. There's ones that are not as amazing. Now, when you talk about James as source material, that's hard to go wrong, right? But let's be honest, some of those episodes are not rewatchable. So I love the DVD set I have from BBF. I think it's amazing that I can own that. It was legendary for me for years and years and years as an unobtainable. I'm glad it exists. I'm not going to upgrade it to Blu-ray. I know they announced Blu-ray, but simply because the source material is in such bad repair that you're buying it just to have it on Blu-ray, I guess. But I do love it. But nope, Darkroom is better. You're not gonna win me on this one. And he says he hasn't seen Darkroom, so please search out Darkroom. I think you're going to be in for a pleasant surprise. The opening episode of Darkroom anticipates the conversation we had about AI at the beginning of this segment. Almost exactly. That show came out in 81. It's unbelievable.
Is that something that's available to stream anywhere, or is that pretty much just
so a lot of it
find it?
A lot of it is on YouTube day to day.
Okay.
Which is fine. I mean, as long as you'll enjoy it no matter what. But I mean, I have it was released in Australia as a DVD set.
Okay.
So I don't have the actual Australian set. I have a bootleg of the Australian set that came from a convention floor. But it is like the same set. And it looks reasonably decent for its age. But we'll never get a high def version of it. I don't think they stored any of the original materials worth of crap because the show itself hasn't. The last time it aired was on the Canadian Scream Network in the late 90s.
Jeez.
So it's not even being licensed out properly.
I'll keep my eyes out for it.
All right, guys, if you have anything else you want us to scream through, then get it out there because, Jacob, I'd have to grab the set from downstairs. But it looks like you like a lot of the later stuff, not the recent stuff, but the later of the original series stuff. Warning to the curious. The problem is, have you read the original short story? Because the original short story plays better. Listen, I'm still glad it exists. Don't get me wrong, but it's... So, Sam, we recently did a thing.
What? What did we do?
It was a show in which Dan Shine was there and Mr. Bombastic was there.
It sounds like the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. Who would you be? Which character would you be?
Don't I have to be Dorothy because it's like
you don't
Sauce
have to be anything. Well, Sauce would definitely be the Scarecrow. Come on.
Oh. I wonder. I'd probably want to be the Wicked Witch, but unless
you could be.
Yeah. I mean,
I'd be that bird that people think is a dead munchkin.
I must have blocked that out of my memory.
So there was an urban legend for many years that there was a dead munchkin hanging from a tree that had committed suicide on set that was still in film. And it's a decent optical illusion that if you want to see a dead midget swinging on the trees, you can. But if you pull back and realize what you're actually looking at, you're seeing a crane out of focus. It's a bird on the set. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. No, I had heard about that, but I didn't know what the relation to the bird was. Also, weird confirmation bias to want to see a dead munchkin.
But for years, people were looking for it. Okay.
I mean, okay, whatever floats your boat.
Dan wants us to talk about pornography.
I don't watch, porn. but I have seen hentai, which is anime porn, but it's been like 20 years.
So Dan, I would be lying if I told you I've seen all of the Black Emmanuel series. I've seen Emmanuel films. I couldn't tell you which ones I've seen. I do love my exploitation, but that's not the corner of exploitation that I usually find myself in. I dig that it's your thing. Okay. On the other side of the world, will the writer's strike make it easier for foreign markets to make headway here?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't foresee the writer's strike really going long enough for it to make that much of an impact, to be fair.
So here's what the foreign market is up against, right? Like every once in a while you'll have something break through. There's no question about that. But so just a couple months ago, the Indian film Pathaan came out worldwide, and it is currently the highest grossing Hindi language film in history. It's the film that dethroned Avatar in over 20 nations. Okay? You've probably never heard of it unless you remember me mentioning it. That's what it's up against. There's just, when it comes to non-English speaking films, the chances of it getting a wide release in America are not very good.
Mm-hmm.
Not impossible, but unless they star Godzilla, it's tough. Could it happen? Sure. Do I believe for a moment that it really will happen? Not really. And listen, maybe it shouldn't. Maybe it's pie in the sky stuff. Maybe we're healthier fixing our own industry by stopping to go see stopping feeding the machine and going to see the bullshit and forcing Hollywood to innovate. And then every time A24 put out something, or someone like A24, I would say the Reborn Hammer was putting out stuff that I would qualify. I think qualifies. If we support that stuff, then they'll make more stuff like that. You know, unfortunately, they'll probably dull it down too, but maybe that makes more sense. But as much as I'd like to see Thai and Korean and Japanese and films from Hong Kong and all over the world, not just India, but although India has, I have a direct route for Indian films. That's why I'm so into it. It's easy for me to get a hold of just about anything that comes out there. So I get to see all the best stuff from India. I don't have that same route for something like Malaysia. Although the Malaysian horror films I've seen, I love. So I wish I did. But if I can't get a hold of it with subs, so there's a lot that has to happen. I wish it would happen because there's so much good. But in the meantime, I guess we have Scream 7 announced. So yay! Halloween television series. Yay!
I'm just having to take all the hits.
Yeah.
God. I don't know why I do this to myself.
This is the life we live here. Jeff says the most obvious thing ever said. Dan, no wonder you're broke.
Broke. It clearly says Broll.
Broke.
I liked it better when it's Broll.
Okay, then we'll make it Broll again. There you go.
Nice.
That should be a t-shirt. Dan, no wonder you're Broll.
Ooh, there you go. Region free merch shop.
Exactly. So yeah, we did a show recently. And
that's what we were talking about.
That was what we were talking about.
Okay.
Before Dan took us down the Black Emmanuel road, which he's claiming is
like
not
you didn't
porn.
say whole.
Oh. So here we go. At least we have the Exorcist reboot. I guess we're not getting back to Region Free anytime soon. Okay, kids. This is going to be the worst thing. And I'm glad at least this time everyone's acknowledging that all the warning signs are that this is going to be bad. Test screening that went so poorly that the studio itself is doing damage control left and right. And you got to understand, when word leaks out from test screenings, usually it's more positive than it deserves to be, not more negative. So this thing's a piece of shit, clearly.
When is that supposed to come out? This year or next?
I think it's December.
Okay, well, I like to see a movie that'll make me laugh around Christmas, kind of cheer me up.
I don't, Dan. I actually don't. Although I have, I don't have it up right now. I have The Woman Hunt, the great exploitation film that has Sig Haig in it and Pam Grier from '72. I have that original one sheet. I used to have it right over there, but I guess I need to put it back up because I do love that film. It's not good. It's not good at all. Vinegar Syndrome put out a Blu-ray of it. It looks horrible, but the movie's great. I don't need a test screening to know how bad this is going to be. Yeah. The Exorcist films it's the easiest math ever. It's like, how many good Exorcist films are there? Yeah. How many Exorcist films did William Peter Blatty have anything to do with? This is not hard. Dan says if he weren't reviewing it on Flesh Wound Features, he'd have zero interest in seeing the new Exorcist. Yeah, well, get ready for Ellen Burstyn being able to perform an exorcism until Linda Blair shows up and helps her perform. Oh my god, it's gonna be so fucking bad.
What?
Did I say something aloud? I'm sorry, spoilers. I should have prefaced that.
I don't care, but I just, what's happening? Wait, they're rebooting it or they're doing a requel?
It's ignoring all the sequels and just pretending the first film. Everything in the first film existed. Although I'm hearing that there's a hilarious mistake that contradicts the first film in the movie. So.
Oh, well, that's fun. Yeah, oh, man, I wish they'd stop retconning the bad movies because no, you have to take responsibility for those.
Redeem the bad movies is what I always say. Like, find a way to present them in a light that makes them look better.
Yeah, or if you really wanted to jump through your own asshole and tie it into a part of the larger canon, I think we'd have more respect for these things.
Let me tell you right now, if at the end of the new Exorcist film, okay, you get to the big climatic exorcism, and James Earl Jones shows up in a locust costume, everyone's okay with that happening at that point.
I'm just thinking of the dudes in the fly costumes from Jesus Shows You the Way of the Highway now.
Yeah. That's a way better film than this Exorcist remake is going to be.
Hell yeah.
You know, Jeff, I have a weird relationship with Heretic. I keep trying to convince myself that I should like the movie because I love underdog movies that are misunderstood. Sadly, it's just not a fun movie to watch. It's not a good movie to watch. Pretty much everything about it's a mistake. Honestly, if Linda Blair, if a 18-year-old Linda Blair wasn't on a rooftop wearing a sheer white shirt, there'd be no reason people like the movie. It's a mess. It's just a mess. It's John Borman knew it was a mess. And cheap. That movie looks cheap all the time. They spent a tremendous amount of money and it still looks cheap. That the exorcism in Africa, which it's in like a straw hut and they put grasshoppers on a girl's face and you're like, what?
Yeah, Heretic really lost me. And I just never went back to the Exorcist movies.
Yeah. I mean, I do own the thing on Blu-ray, so that shows how messed up I am. I found it used cheap, and I just decided, like I always do, I'm going to give it one more chance. And then William Peter Blatty comes up in and was like, so I hear you guys have been trying to make an exorcism movie. Let me show you how this is done. And he makes like one of the best horror movies of all time. So there you go. Jeff says he likes The Heretic.
All right.
Well, Jeff, everyone is fully fully entitled to their opinions. Well, that's not exactly true. Like, I'm thinking like Himmler and Goebbels probably weren't really entitled to their opinions, but I don't think the heretic quite raises to that level. But I do suggest that maybe if you're not drinking, you might start, or if you were drinking the last time you watched it, maybe watch it sober. Get back to me. Dan says, Heretic is fun to make fun of. I'm not even sure of that. Oh, well, here you go. See, now that I love. Right there, I love. Because I have plenty of films that are shit films that I will champion because I love them, and I never claim they're good. And the fact that you just fully admitted that a guilty pleasure is a thing and it's cool, I get really annoyed when people is like, I don't believe in guilty pleasures because if I like it, it's not. I don't feel guilty. It's not about you feeling guilty, okay, dude? It's just a word we use to mean, hey, this is a piece of shit that I love. I'm just going with that. So, Sam, we were on this show a few days ago.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. All right. Third try about Region Free Season 3.
Yeah. So, I said at the beginning of that show that it takes a lot of work to get these panel shows off the ground. Like, Sam and I are lucky with these things. Like, we can throw them together. You guys show up and we just like rant. So we're spoiled. But actual panel shows are very tough to put together. You're hurting cats because, like, people who talk movies online are always, they're always very opinionated, and finding the right group of people to mesh can be a real challenge. I had so much fun the other night, and I know that the other cast members did too. I don't mean to speak for anyone, but it felt right. And it felt right in a way that, unfortunately, I think it's been a long time since it's felt as right. And that's not to downplay the contributions of anyone who wasn't on the show. But I want that show really to be a place where this whole community can come together. You're going to see a lot of familiar faces on that show. People who've been on Region Free before, people who have never been on Region Free, but very well. Some people maybe you're not familiar with at all. It's going to be a place that on a monthly basis we can come together and really have these discussions and have fun. I'm so glad to have it back, to be honest with you. During the pandemic, I think my favorite thing was to get together with like-minded people and be able to spin, Sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree, but we always had fun. And I felt like for the last, frankly, 10 months, as we've all been doing our own things and not coming together, that was missing. So I want to thank Sam especially. Like, sometimes we forget.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah, that's you. Sometimes we forget how much people do bring. And it's not for any other reason than we have busy lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Sam, you have helped this channel out tremendously. You're a key player in the Region Free dynamic. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I'm still going to be processing that compliment for a while. So don't take offense if I can't accept it right away.
Well, you need to deal. So, guys, if you're not subscribed to that channel, go over there and subscribe. It's not the old Region Free. It's Region Free Season 3 specifically has its own channel. There's a lot of reasons that had to happen. I'm not going to go through the whole story. One thing I will address that perhaps is not, this might not be even the place for it, but I'll address it here. It's not about discluding anyone or including anyone. We're trying to build something here, and it's not as easy as you'd think. We'll get there, guys. This will be the meeting place for the whole community ultimately. But it does mean that we got to make sure we grow in the right directions. So please, if you're not subscribed to that channel, go over there and subscribe. So everyone understands this whole thing happened with Piz's full endorsement. No one would ever want to do this under the Region Free banner if he did not fully endorse what we've done. So don't feel like any kind of loyalty has been misstepped either. It is a fun fucking show, and I'm glad it's back in our lives.
Same.
Who are we going to give the last comment to, Sam?
I could just close my eyes and choose one. Or do you want one that's not from earlier in the show?
No, you can anywhere.
All right, here we go. Okay, who we got?
It's like roulette.
Sorry, Dan.
Sorry, Dan. Good night, guys.